time. Yes, the session is being recorded, so if you have to leave, you can always check back to our website and you'll be able to watch the rest of the presentation later. And we're also giving another presentation next week. But thank you everyone for joining us today to learn more about the Dow Jones News Fund. My name is Heather. I'm the manager of digital media and programs. Let's see. So for those who are not familiar, the Dow Jones News Fund is a nonprofit foundation that promotes careers in journalism. We're sort of like a matchmaking service is the best way I can describe it to people. Students apply and are in our applicant pool, and then newsrooms sign up with their internships for us to find their interns, and then we do the pairing of matching students to newsrooms. We are open to sophomores, juniors, seniors, and graduate students. For example, last year, this past summer, we had 99 students, interns, working in more than 70 newsrooms across the country. We've been doing this since 1960. So we have, a lot of alumni all across the country, and this program has really played a pivotal role in launching journalism careers. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of sorry, I'm like clicking as I go. A little bit of a preview of some of the people who've been through our program. I think that's the best way to describe it, because sometimes you hear about the program, but you don't really comprehend like what it does. So Emily, she was in our program 2 summers in a row, last summer. She was at University of Missouri. She was a sophomore. She did our training program at ASU in the digital media cohort, and then she went on to intern at Kansas City Star. Tiara Smith, she was a senior at Grambling State University in Louisiana, and then she went to our business reporting program. She then went on to be a business reporter at the Denver Post. Anthony Chen, he was at Cornell. I think he just graduated this past May, but he was in our editing program and then interned at the Washington Post. And Corey Dean, she was at UNC Chapel Hill. She went to our data journalism training and then interned at Virginia Pilot. And I like to use these examples because they show we are all over the country, all different types of newspapers, daily publications, niche publications, digital first, TV, radio. We choose students from all across the country in different types of schools, from state schools, HBCUs, Ivy League. We really try to get a broad array of people. And you work at all different types of newsrooms. And I mentioned this training. That's what sort of makes us stand apart from other internship programs, is that if you are selected for an internship from the Dow Jones News Fund, you are required to go to this pre-internship training program, where we fly you out to a city and we put you up in housing. We give you 3 meals a day, and you are living with 15 to 20 other young journalists just like you for a week. It's a real bonding experience, sort of like journalism camp. You really come away with it with 15 best friends who are all going into the journalism industry with you. So it's a really special time. And so these trainings typically happen between May 19th and June 3rd for about 7 to 10 days. And I'm going to go into detail about each of the trainings that we offer. But usually what happens is the training program will align to the type of internship you're going to be having that summer. And the training really tries to get you ready with ramping up your skills, talking about professionalism, how to handle yourself on the internship, and really make you ready to go out there and do an awesome job. And as I mentioned, we cover your travel, your housing, your meals, everything during that time, during the training. So audience engagement, we launched the inaugural class was this past summer. Audience engagement in Philly. Here they are at the top of the Rocky Steps. It's like the big finale of the week, is after you've made it through the training, you get to run up the Rocky Steps and celebrate. So they were learning all about how you push out certain content on the web, how you optimize stories for the different platforms, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Really have to hone your SEO, copywriting, your news judgment. A lot of talk about just news judgment and philosophy about news standards and stuff, because you're pushing stuff out there on the web frequently and quickly, and you have to have good judgment and good skills. So that's the audience engagement. And Multi-platform editing. This one, we're looking for people who are either the copy editor or copy chief at their school newspaper. You have to have a very sharp eye for errors. You know AP style inside and out. You have a strong command of the English language and grammar. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the test. I usually say, oh, the test is just one thing we look at. It's not like it doesn't make or break you. But for the editing, I would say probably your editing score will matter a little bit for getting into our program, because this is the most competitive program we offer. This is probably have about 12 to 15 spots in the editing program, and these are with some of the bigger newspapers. So we really do look for people who have a very sharp eye and command of AP styling and everything. So, and this training is at University of Texas, Austin. So your 10 days, we're drilling you on headline writing, writing captions, AP style quizzes, really drilling you. And then the last 3 days, you actually work on producing a digital and print paper. So you build it from AP Wire, and you are, writing the headlines, doing the captions, cutting the stories, trimming them to fit. So you're really put through the ringer to prepare you for your internship. Business reporting. This is our largest program. So people always ask, like, where I would stand the best chance of getting into your program. And I would say business reporting. We have almost 40 internships in business reporting. And these vary. Some are in New York City covering Wall Street and finance and a lot of niche business concepts. But then there's a lot of reporters who are just out there in communities across America covering mom and pop shops, new businesses, real estate deals, labor negotiations. We had several interns in Detroit covering the auto industry. So it really varies by internship what they'll be covering. You don't have to have any experience in business. What we look for are reporters. So if you are a general assignment reporter, you cover, student government, and, campus, even art. We've even taken arts and culture reporters. We really want to see, how to go source a story, get quotes, pull the information that you need. Maybe you've filed records requests. That's sort of and then you know how to write the story, and you have strong writing skills. So that's what we're looking for in business reporting. Digital media. This is at Arizona State University in Phoenix. And this is a little bit of everything. I like to say it's a choose your own adventure. It is video, photography, SEO, audience engagement, podcasting. You sort of learn a little bit of everything during that week. And the internships really vary. This is where we have one TV station, we have a couple radio stations, a lot of digital first publications where maybe you're posting stories. We have reporting internships in the digital media as well. So it really varies. The newsrooms are selecting which training they want their intern to go to. So during the training week, you sort of learn about a lot of these things, but then we give you time to sort of practice and hone your skills. So maybe you want to focus on podcasting, or maybe you want to focus on social and really, ramping up your social skills. So you get to sort of pick what you want to work on while you're there. Data journalism. So this has been led by investigative reporters and editors at the University of Missouri. And the program at IRE is really focused on how do you scrape data off a website? How do you take data? Maybe it's a spreadsheet you got from a government agency. How do you clean that data? What are the different tools to extrapolate a story from the data? How do you analyze the data? Maybe some data visualization tools. We're also planning to launch a second data training cohort this year that's going to be more on data-driven reporting. So it's going to be more on the writing and reporting and investigative side of data. So we're really excited about that. So let me tell you a little about the internships. So after you go to the training, you then go to your internships. They're generally 10 to 12 weeks long. We do have a couple fellowships where we look for people who've already graduated and are ready to maybe for either a 6-month fellowship or possible be able to go from internship to being hired. You're guaranteed a salary of at least $5.25 or more, or minimum wage if minimum wage is higher in your state or where you're going to be working. In-person and hybrid opportunities. We are going to try, we might have a couple examples of remote work, but we're really going to try to clamp down and stick to in-person or hybrid internships moving forward. We think it's better learning experience for interns to be in person, or at least have a couple days of a week in the office. We do cover your costs to go to the training, and then we help you move to the city if you have to move. We'll fly you there, help you get your bags there. If you need to move your car to the new city, we can help pay for that. And then we get you home at the end of the summer. And then some other benefits of our program: at the end of the summer, if you're eligible, we have a $1,500 scholarship that can go toward tuition or federal loans. We provide everyone a mentor if you sign up for the program from our alumni network, which is really great. And these are people you can bounce ideas off of. If you are having trouble in the newsroom, or you have a tough question, you don't know how to approach your supervisor, your mentor is one of those people you can turn to really get advice on how to handle the newsroom. We give everyone memberships to different professional organizations. So like all of our interns become members of the Online News Association, and there's a bunch of other groups that we buy memberships for. Everyone gets a digital subscription to the Wall Street Journal. And then finally, we have something called the Intern Assistance Fund. And this is really, it's on an as-needed basis. We recognize that for some students, moving to a new city could be very hard, especially if you're making $525 a week. It could be really difficult to survive on that. So we do have Intern Assistance Fund that students can apply for. They can go toward things like rental assistance, transportation costs. Maybe you need like a Metro card to commute, or a bus card, or groceries. We want to make sure all of our interns are able to have access to food, housing, secure transportation, so you can really do your job right and not be stressed about those basic needs. So a lot of people want to know like where our internships are. It changes each year based on the newsrooms that sign up, but this is a snapshot of who signed up last year. So you could see we had 10 interns working for American City Business Journals. We had 7 working for Horizon, which is a company here in New York. They have a bunch of niche business publications. You may have heard of American Banker, The Bond Buyer, Financial Planning. So their business publication, Bay City News Foundation in Northern California, the Wall Street Journal, Marshall Project, Fortune. So nonprofit news sites, major newspapers, TV stations, a real mix. So this is going to be too small for you to see, but basically the way our program works is that the newsroom is going to sign up and pick which training they want their intern to go to. And usually that training will align with the job description of what you'll be doing that summer. So when we're making our selection, we'll call you and say, we're offering you an editing internship at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll be able to give you a job description, tell you the salary, tell you the start date, end date, and then you can tell us yes or no if you're interested in that program. And that's generally how it works. And so when the newsrooms sign up and give us a job description, that's when we dive into our applicant pool and try to figure out who's the best candidate for this position. And there might be a lot of factors we look into. It might be geographic. Some newsrooms say, well, we really want someone who already lives in state, who's familiar with the area, especially maybe for a reporting internship. They might say they want someone who's local. A lot of newsrooms are like, we don't care. They could be from wherever, as long as they're willing to move here. So it really varies. Some regions don't have public transportation, so it requires a car. So that's a question on our application is, do you have a car? Would you be able to bring it to your internship? And so, those are always tough questions because, we have to try to find the right candidate who could match all the needs. This is a map of where American City Business Journals has publications. So you can see if you go to school or hometown is in one of these cities. They specifically like to hire students who are from those communities. One, you're more familiar with the community. You know it. The people. You're more likely to want to stay there and possibly be hired at the end of your internship. And hopefully you already have housing there, and they don't want that. That's another one less financial burden for you to take the internship, as if it's somewhere where you already have access to housing. So you could definitely see if you have any of these cities, if you're from one of them. And the really cool thing, since the pandemic, ACBJ interns have been reporting on DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion in corporate America in those different cities, covering minority-owned businesses. So they even won awards for this program. So it's really cool to see the stories they've been telling. So you learned about the internships and the training week. So let's talk about the application process. So the application is due November 16th. It is a Google form. And on that application, you're going to have to upload a 500-word essay. Tell us about a life lesson you learned the hard way. The essay does not have to be about journalism. there's no right or wrong answer for what the essay has to be, except that we want to see it show, it demonstrate your writing skills, your storytelling skills. You know, does it pull us in? Does it tell us more about you? A lot lean into, you know, here's a mistake I made in the newsroom and here's how I fixed it. And, you know, but it doesn't have to be. Some write traumatic stories, some write funny, you know, lighthearted. You know, it's really whatever you want. There's no right or wrong answer for the essay. Your resume, you know, this should be showcasing your journalism experience. You know, if you work in the student newsroom, put that high up. If you have any previous internships, put that high up. An unofficial college transcript. If you're a graduate student, I usually suggest to send the undergraduate, especially if you're in your first semester at grad school, to send your undergraduate transcript. And then work samples. So for business reporting, the clips are really important, the stories you read and they are written, and they don't have to be business stories. They should just be stories you wrote. We're looking at your writing skills, how you put together stories, sort of the substance of the reporting. You know, that's what we'd be looking at. We sort of frown upon classroom assignments. We want to see a story that's actually been published by either your student newspaper or local paper. So I would say try not to do classroom assignments for the business reporting specific. I think we're a little bit more flexible if it comes to digital media. If there was like a video you did for a class, that's fine for digital media. I'll say for attaching it to our application, we don't allow you to upload any video or MP3 files. It has to be either a Word or PDF. So just think about if you're going to submit any digital content that it's hosted somewhere else and you just put it so you could do, a lot of people will do like a Word document where it's like a little description paragraph of here's a video I did for this class, or this is, you know, you can give a little annotation of why you're submitting it, why you think it's important, and then you do the link to where it is. So that's definitely, and for editors, it's always hard because editors usually don't have bylines to show, but it could be, here's a story I edited. You could show the markup of it. Here are headlines I wrote. You know, you can get creative. I would say that the clips really matter the most if you're interested in a reporting position where you'll be writing. We want to see the stories you've written. And for data, you know, they could be data visualizations, they could be stories, they could be, some people include code, some people give us their GitHub portfolio link. So, you know, we're very open with the other programs. So some other highlights of the application. That's where you tell us which programs you're interested in. So it's the first question, tell us which programs are you interested in. You can select one or all of them. And then we ask you, the follow-up question is, what's your top choice? And this is going to help us figure out where, you know, let us know what aligns most with your career goals. So we would like you to pick one track that you really like. And then we also ask you about what cities and states you have access to housing. Because again, if we can help you find somewhere where you already have housing, we will. You know, no guarantees. It's wherever our internships are, but it does help us to know if there is potential other places. We ask for 2 professional references. These should not be other students. These should be people who could speak to your work ethic, your ability to meet deadlines, show up on time, you know, you complete your assignments, you know, people who can talk about how you work that we can't really get from your resume or your essay. And then finally, the industries or topics you're interested in. We do have a couple niche publications like Inside Climate News. So we might look for someone who's interested in climate change. We have the Marshall Project. So people who are interested in criminal justice. So, you know, we have these special publications. So if you want to write down, if you do have any passion topics that you would love to cover, banking or crypto technology. We have several internships that cover the auto industry. So if you're interested in the auto industry, let us know. I'm trying to think of some others. We have an internship in the past that's covering cannabis and marijuana. So, you know, agriculture and public policy. So that would be really helpful for us to know. So after you apply, you then get a link to the test, which is done on HireVue. So it's one test. There's 9 sections. There's a video question, current events and geography, grammar, AP style, SEO headlines, digital media, editing, business reporting, and data journalism. So the video question, you actually are given a prompt a question to answer, and you get 3 minutes. You get one chance to record it. And you do get some time to prep if you want. My biggest suggestion is don't like write out your answer and read from a piece of paper. We really like you to speak from the heart, so we get to meet you and your personality. Consider this your first interview question for us. And then current events and geography, it's really the current events of the year. And we finalize the test by the end of August. So really you're looking at current events from January to August. So my biggest suggestion is Google top stories of the year. Think about what were the major headlines and be familiar with the key concepts of those current events. And I'm going to do a test prep session in 2 days. So if you want to wait, you can wait and we'll go through last year's test so you can see how it works. Grammar, what are some commonly mistaken words? AP style, I always tell people numbers. So ages, weights, heights, dates, years, think of all the different ways numbers are written and what the rules are for them. Titles, states, cities. So all those things that, you might have to know on the fly. Those are things that we'll be testing you on for AP style. And then the other ones we sort of ask more like digital literacy, editing, it's more editing questions, business, it's more business concepts, and data, sort of either Excel or graphing concepts, probability charts. I think it's helpful if you just look at last year's tests, and then you could get an idea for the type of questions we ask in each one. So yeah, I gave you all the clips. New York Times, definitely check out the New York Times quizzes. I definitely pull inspiration from some of their questions. So that's a good place to go. Google for some AP style sheets or grammar, commonly mistaken words, like think of who and whom, except, just the words are commonly mistaken. This is the website, so you'll be able to download a blank version of the test and then the answer key. And so you can sort of take it. It will seem really hard because even going through last year's test, the news is going to feel so old from over a year ago. So, that's why I always say before you take the test, just try to do a refresher of the news from this year. So this is a snapshot of this past year's class. You could see we take people from sophomores, juniors, seniors, and graduate students. And if you are graduating in December, you're still eligible for the program. We take people from all majors and minors. You don't have to be a journalism major. We know several schools don't have journalism programs, maybe your communications, but we've even had, history or political science. It really, it doesn't, you don't have to have journalism. We do look for people who want to be journalists though. So I should stress that, that's our mission is to build careers in journalism. So if you're doing this to get into law school, I would say do not apply. We really want journalists in the program. If you're an international student already in the US with proper visas, you're also eligible. We don't do the visa arranging, so usually the universities will arrange the OPT. And so that's how we usually work with international students. If you're studying abroad this year, if you're a US citizen studying abroad, you can also apply. One question that always comes up, we have a lot of international students who are former journalists. And so if you are a former journalist who are not eligible for our program, we define that as you worked for 30 hours a week for a year or more. So, but if you had previous internships, a fellowship, you're fine. And if you are quite, if you're not sure, just send me an email. We don't want anyone to disqualify themselves. You can always check with me, send me your resume, send me an email with a description of what you did. And we can see, we always get a lot of career changers too, people who had completely different careers that have decided to go into journalism, and that's fine. It's really if you were a journalist somewhere that you're not eligible. So the timeline of what to expect. So the deadline for the application will be November 16th. On November 17th, I will go in, download everyone who applied and send them the link to the test. And everyone will have to have taken it by the end of November 20th. And that includes if you apply tomorrow, the email that you get from HireVue says, take this test within 72 hours. We're very flexible. We don't police that at all. Right now, we say it because you have to take the test. You can't forget about it. And so we're worried that if you just let it linger and you don't do it, you're going to forget about it. Because if you don't do the test, we delete your application. We don't look at your application. So you have to do the test. I will send reminders all the time. There's a little button I click to remind you. So yeah, so you have to take the test. And then in December, we start the selection process. And this continues all the way into the spring. It goes on forever. And it's because newsrooms are signing up on a rolling basis. So we try to get a lot of the newsrooms to sign up in by December 1st. So we'll start in December, like filling a lot of the positions. But then we get newsrooms signing up in January and February. And so we're just diving into the applicant pool and saying, okay, who do we think is a good fill for this spot? And then the programs begin in May. And so you go to the training week and then you go to your internships. I'll also say for intern selection, before I move on, in many cases, a lot of our newsroom partners like to be involved. So it might be a case of I call you and I say, you're one, hi, this is Heather. Do you have an internship yet? Or are you still available this summer? And you can say, yes, I'm still available. I haven't agreed to anything yet. I'm like, great. Would you be interested in moving to Nashville this summer? And you can tell me yes or no. I'd be like, yes, I'd be interested in moving to Nashville. Great. Okay. I'm going to make you one of 3 candidates for this newsroom. And you might be hearing from from their newsroom hiring manager for an interview. So they'll interview you and then they'll pick their intern. And that happens with quite a number of our media partners, is that they want to interview the intern before we give the commitment. Some newsrooms trust us and say, you pick the intern. So it really varies by newsroom. But if you get the call and we ask to put your resume forward, you're on our radar. And hopefully if that internship doesn't work out, hopefully we can maybe get you something else. No promises, but we try. Some final thoughts. Please check your voicemail and email regularly and respond quickly. Don't have a full mailbox. We make we do all the selection by phone. We call you. We don't do emails. So, that weird number calling you, pick it up in December. And check your voicemail. I've had before someone call me 2 weeks later and they're like, oh, I just got the message. I'm like, I'm sorry, we filled that spot already, because we move very quickly. Like, we fill spots in a day or two once we get the internship. Your resume does not need to be super long. It should really highlight your journalistic work. And you could be creative. Like, sometimes maybe you do social media for a club or a church. Think about the different journalistic skills that you have out there that you could put on there. Any clubs we really like to see if you're a member of any of the journalism organizations. It shows a real passion for the industry, that you're networking, that you're really interested in going to journalism. And these different organizations have great resources for students. And they're usually really cheap to join. So you should definitely be thinking of joining these groups if you haven't already. Keep your LinkedIn really up to date. You might apply in October and I might not be looking at your resume and your materials till February. So sometimes I go and look at your LinkedIn profile and say, oh, look, they got a spring internship. Look what they're working at. It's just a way of having a refreshed, up-to-date resume for me to look at. Make sure there's no typos. Last year we had a student who had they were missing a digit in their phone number. So we had no way of contacting them. It was really, so you don't want that. Your work samples, they should just showcase your best work and your skills. They don't have to be business focused, just things you're really proud of. And if you want to, you can include little descriptions of why you're including them. And a big thing with your application, attachments. We put it in there. I say, please name your file like Heather Taylor -resume, Heather Taylor -transcript, Heather Taylor -essay. Because this application is a Google form, all attachments are going into one big giant folder. So you can imagine if we have about 800 applicants and each of them have 4 attachments, if everyone attaches a document called resume, it's going to be a nightmare trying to sort through and find it. So it's going to really help us, because then all I have to do is type in your name and I'll be able to bring up your attachments very quickly like that. So please do that naming convention for your attachments. It'll make my life very easier. We'll find it. The worst case is you do like an essay and you don't put your name on the paper and we have no idea whose essay it is, So just make sure your names are on all the attachments inside the document and in the file name. That would help us out greatly. Let's see. Okay, my contact info. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to questions. And people, I guess, can do in the chat or let's see. Okay. What if you're unable to make the pre-internship training dates? You have to be able to make the training dates. And this is an issue for students who are on the quarter system. I don't know if that is you. I know there are certain schools who we just can't take interns from because their school will not let them out. UCLA is one that comes to mind. We usually don't have anyone from UCLA in the program because they don't allow people. But Northwestern is a quarter system school, and they typically have let their students out. It does get stressful for the students because they're managing either reading week during the training or their finals. So our training week is intensive. It is morning through night. Like, don't plan. Like, we've had interns who thought they were going to like work part-time during it. Like, no. During these 10 days, we have you, like, you are morning through night with us. There's no working, there's no meeting up with other people, really. You're focused there. So that is on the training week. If you are overseas in December, yeah, I got to think about, if someone's asking if they're going to be traveling overseas in December and not able to answer a phone call, I guess send me an email. I don't know if you would see a missed call from a US number. If you want to email me, I'm trying to think if there's somewhere you could put on the application. It's all Google Forms. So you could probably put for your phone number, little parentheses saying, I'll be traveling in December and being reachable either by WhatsApp or by email only. That actually did come up. We had a student a couple years ago who we called for an internship and they never returned the phone call. And so that was just sort of less of a question mark. And then we had an opening 3 months later, and I was like, well, it doesn't say they said no. Let me just go back and reach out to them. They just never answered the phone. And I emailed him this time, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm studying abroad. I don't get any international phone calls through my phone. So that's why we missed him the first time, because we didn't send an email. We just called and he didn't answer or return our call. I think if there's a way to communicate to us on the application, you'll be unreachable. That's really good to know. Where do reference letters go? We don't take reference letters. We only take the contact information. So we take their name, phone number, email. Think about if, for a professor, like if it's a professor, if they're going to be on break, do you have the work number? Like, make sure, are they going to be available to take a call from us? Maybe you can get their cell phone number or their email. I know sometimes faculty are like off for winter break and they're not checking their messages. So you just want to make sure that they're ready to answer the phone or respond to an email if we contact them. How likely is a remote internship? We are going to really try to limit. Now, there's some newsrooms that just don't have a physical space, but we are going to try to limit it or require you to be at least in the state. We had a couple issues this year where students were remote, like the internship was in one state and they were living in another across the country, and that it raised issues with HR and payroll and just being familiar with, like, they were in different time zones. So like being familiar with the news that's happening and being immersed in the community and knowing what's going on in the community. So even if you're not having to go in the office, we are going to want you to be within proximity for HR purposes. But it's on a case-by-case basis. I can't say, we haven't started the sign up yet of newsrooms. So we will see. There are some newsrooms that just don't have a physical space. Like I know Inside Climate News, I don't believe they have a physical space. So there are going to be media partners like that where we will have a remote. We'll probably, for that, pick students who have previous remote internship experience, and we call and vet your resource or your references to make sure you were able to, because it's also really hard to work remotely. I think if you haven't done it before and to do it well, it takes, some certain skills to be able to work remotely. Do you help find housing for the internship? So for the housing, we have letters from last year's intern. And so we asked the interns to tell, in case they moved, to, give advice for where to find housing in that city. Someplace, I have a list of New York, because we have a bunch of interns in New York. So I have a list of all the different university housing, how much they cost, what their deadlines are for New York. And then we try our best. I'm going to try to get more resources. I'm going to put a call out to our alumni because it's really hard. That's the hardest part of this whole process, is the housing. I'm going to ask alumni if they'd be willing to rent rooms in their, like, maybe they have empty nesters, who have an extra room in their house. We'll see, because that is the biggest hurdle. But you tell me you're having a hard time, and I will be out there on the internet looking for you, trying to find you housing. We don't expect you to have housing lined up when you commit to the internship, but, so you're going to say yes to the internship before you find your housing arrangements, but we're going to try to help you find it. We don't pay for it, but we're going to try to help you find it. Do you have to have Twitter? No, I don't think you do, but maybe audience engagement. You might want to have Twitter if you're interested in audience engagement, because we do want people who are social media savvy. So it just depends. But like if you're applying for data journalism or business, you don't have to have Twitter for that. I would say having no Twitter profile is probably better than having one that's very inappropriate that, you use for, personal stuff. We will look for it to see, make sure you're professional and act appropriately. Some newsrooms do a social media check before they hire. I know Associated Press does one, McClatchy. So some newsrooms have their own vetting service that goes through your social media before they hire you. Let me see. If we were graduating this year and interested in a longer internship fellowship, can we indicate that on the application? No, we don't have that. We just know that for so one of our fellowships is Insider. It's in our business reporting program. It's a 6-month fellowship. So we only look at people who have graduated either in December or May. So that's just how we figure out who's eligible for that one. And I think Associated Press was also longer than 3 months or 12 weeks. So there's only a couple. I think like 2. Some newsrooms specifically request seniors who are open to being hired at the end of the summer. We had one of our partners with the USA Today. That was part of the stipulations. They wanted people who were eligible to be hired at the end of the internship. So we might only be looking for seniors for certain positions. Did I get all the questions in the chat? I think so. Now, I think someone had their hand up. Sam.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I'm a graduating senior and my commencement date falls directly in the middle of the training program.
What's the date?
May 26th.
Okay.
So would that completely disqualify me, or would I be able to go to campus for the weekend?
Well, not all the trainings are at the same time. So,
okay.
I don't know which program you're interested in. Data journalism is going to start later, and business reporting will start later. So if either of those, we have the ACBJ program that's typically the first week of June. The data programs are supposed to start around June 1st as well.
Okay, because I'm interested in digital media and multi-platform editing. So.
Okay, those are both earlier. And so is May 26th. I haven't even looked at calendar. So typically, the digital media program, I'll tell you right now what the dates are.
Okay, thank you.
Most likely. Okay, May. Okay, so most likely the digital media and digital media and audience. Was audience the one you said, or no, editing?
I just said, yeah.
Okay, so digital will probably start either May 17 or 18 and end on the 26th or 27th. I think they would let you leave a day early if your graduation's on the 26th. Great. They may. Yeah. They usually will let you, they'll allow you for a day to get out early usually, or start late. Cause I know that time of year is, the editing program. I don't know the dates exactly, but I believe they were around Wednesday, May 22nd to May 31st or June 1st. Okay. So that would cut right in the middle for editing.
Yeah.
So that would not be allowed.
Okay.
And then we have the business report. One business reporting program will be probably the 18th to the 26th in New York. And then we're going to have another business reporting program that's also around the same dates. It might be the 20th to the 27th or 28th. And then we're going to have another business reporting program June 1st to June 8th, I believe. And another data, and then the data programs are going to, usually the one at IRE, you fly in on Memorial Day on the 27th and you leave on June 1st. And then the one we're talking about doing for the second data program, which we're going to be doing at University of Maryland, is most likely going to be June 1st to June 8th. So those are the dates that we're looking at right now for 2024. It's not set in stone yet, but that gives you an idea. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
And we would fly you home for graduation, and let's say your internship is somewhere else, we would fly you to the newsroom where you're interning at, and then fly you home at the end of summer. Oh, a new question came in the chat. Will this presentation be available? Yes, I'm recording the session and we're going to post it on our website. I'm giving a second presentation next week live. And then we're also doing a test prep session on Wednesday where we'll go through last year's test. And I'll go through it. And so you can actually see the actual platform and how it works and how to troubleshoot if certain issues come up while you're taking the test. So, oh, someone's asking for data. Is there a way to indicate which part we're most interested in between we're going to be launching a new data track this year? There's not, and neither for the newsrooms either. So we're just going to look at the job descriptions of the data, and sort of that's the way we're going to like figure out the job based on the job descriptions from the newsroom, which data track they belong in. Is it more of a heavy reporting focus, or is it more coding, spreadsheets, cleaning data? And that's how we'll divide the data probably. That's what we're looking at for the data. But if we call you, that's when we have the conversation with you, right? So if the data team's calling you to offer you, they usually they're going to call you because they're offering you an internship. Or they want to interview you first. That's where you can really talk about what you're passionate about, what you're interested in. Many times, like, they'll call and say, oh, would you be interested in, this type of internship? One of the internships we had this year was with USA Today on their automation team. So they're doing very specific pulling data that could be used for sort of cool interactive apps that all the different USA Today network papers can use. So it's, data that could be used by multiple cities. So maybe that's something you're interested in, but maybe it's like, that's not my thing. I'm more of a reporter. I'm interested in reporting. And it's like, okay, I'm going to make a note of that. And if something else comes up that I think will work, we'll keep you in mind if that comes up. That also comes up, like, if you can't move. Some people are asking about remote opportunities, like maybe, you can't move for the summer. I call you up and say, are you willing to go to Nashville? Sorry, I really can't. I have to be, in DC this summer. This is where my housing is. I can't leave. I'll put a note like DC only. And so maybe when a newsroom signs up that's from DC, I'll keep you in my mind. I had that this year. We had a student, she's like, I'm moving back to Denver after I graduate. I have to be in Denver. And it took a month and a half, but I had a newsroom sign up in Denver, and she was the first person I called. I was like, they signed up. Do you want it? And she was like, yes, I do. So that's how it's sort of going. As the newsrooms sign up, we're diving in. We've also had students who aren't ready to make a commitment. Maybe we call you in December and they're saying, there's this one internship I'm really holding out for. I can't give you a commitment right now. Check back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We won't hold the job for you. We're going to keep moving, but I'll put in a note, not willing to make a commitment until January 5th. And then maybe if something else comes up that we think you could be a good fit for, we'll circle back on January 5th and see. So that's sort of how it works. So when we call, we can have a conversation. Any other questions? The test prep session will be recorded and posted to the website. You can actually go here. I'm going to close out of this right now. Hopefully, let me see. Stop sharing and share screen. Let's see if I can do this for you guys. Hold on. Trying to get out of this PowerPoint presentation. If you go to our website, I'll show you. This is where it's going to go. So you go to Participate Internship Program Overview. And right now you can watch last year's recorded sessions. You can watch last year's test prep. But this is where I'm going to update it with our recordings here. Once we have them, this is where you can sign up if you want to sign up for the test prep session. But this is where I'll be posting it, and I'll email out the recording information too to everyone who signed up on this sheet. Let me see, more questions. How many applicants do you typically get in a year? It's really increased. Last year we had about 800 applicants for about 100 spots. And already we have 100 applicants and we've only been out for like 2 weeks. So I anticipate we're going to have more. We always get like a couple hundred in the last 2 days, which is crazy. And no, there's no benefit to waiting last minute or, doing it early. I prefer you do it early, but I know how everyone is. They always wait till last minute. Just be prepared that you're going to have to take the test really quickly. We're forgiving right now on the time for taking the test. We are not forgiving when it comes to the November 20th cutoff, because we have to start doing our process. We can't wait for people to take the test. Stop sharing. Okay. Anyone else have their hand up or? No, did I get everyone's questions? If you want, I'll share one other thing that people find helpful. Because if you're still wondering like which programs you're interested in, oh wait here. If you go on our website, go to the latest. This is where all of our press releases are. Sorry, let's see, news. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you can go to where we announced last year's class. Some people always want to try to figure out like which newsrooms you like, which programs. So this is where you can see which newsrooms were in each program. So if there's specific newsrooms, or maybe you're from a city, maybe from Northern California. So you want to see where are the Northern California internships. So we have a lot of different opportunities here all across the country, all different types. And it's not guaranteed they're going to sign up again. We already have one newsroom signed up that's not even on this list, from Virginia. So, it's each year it's different who signs up, but we get our interns do really well. So we usually get repeat customers. If anyone is from Hawaii, please make sure we know that, because we're probably gonna have at least 3 internships in Hawaii, and that's a very expensive state to live in. So we really try hard to find students who have housing in Hawaii already. So make sure we know that. Let me see what else I can tell you. Yeah. Well, all right, I am going to end the recording right now. Let me